For 15 years, I thought I had a happy marriage. For 15 years, I trusted my wife. And for 15 years, she was living a lie. When I found out, my world didn't just fall apart. I didn't just get sad. I got even. This is the story of how I planned a cold, calculated revenge to take back the life she tried to steal from me. Our story started like a lot of them do. We were young, dumb, and head over heels in love. I met Sarah in our last year of college. I was an accounting student, all numbers and logic. She was a marketing major, a whirlwind of creative energy who could probably sell a freezer in the Arctic. She just had this light about her. When she walked into a room, you noticed. I was the quiet, steady one. We balanced each other out, or so I thought. We got married 2 years after we graduated, on a perfect autumn day, surrounded by everyone we knew. We were 25 and felt like we had the whole world figured out. The first few years were a blur of building a life together. We bought a starter home on a quiet, tree-lined street. I began my career at an accounting firm, slowly but surely climbing the ladder, which suited me just fine. Sarah, with her charisma, took the marketing world by storm, landing a big-shot role at a downtown agency. We decided together not to have kids. We were both career-focused and felt like we were enough for each other. Our marriage was our big project, the thing we were building together. Looking back, our life feels like a collection of perfect photos. There's one of us, laughing and covered in paint, redoing the kitchen. There's another on a balcony in Italy on our 5th anniversary. Countless Christmases, birthdays, and quiet nights on the couch, her feet in my lap, talking about nothing. I was so proud when she made junior partner at her firm. I was her biggest fan. Her success felt like our success. To everyone else, we were the gold standard, the couple that had it all. You just work, my friends would say, and I believed we did. My trust in her was absolute. It never, not even once, occurred to me to question it. Why would I? She came home to me every night. She told me she loved me. She held my hand while we fell asleep. It was our rhythm, a life built on what I thought was mutual love and respect. At 43, I thought I had everything a man could want. But that belief, that whole life I had poured my soul into, was about to be demolished. The foundation I was so proud of was built on sand, and a 15-year tide was about to come in. The beginning of the end wasn't some big, dramatic explosion. It was more like a slow leak. It started about 6 months ago. Sarah had always worked hard, but suddenly she was working later and later. Big campaign, she'd say, flying through the door at 9 p.m. We're all pulling crazy hours. I believed her. I'd have a plate of food waiting, I'd listen to her complain about clients, and I'd rub her shoulders. I was the supportive husband. That was my job. Then there was the phone. For 15 years, her phone was just an object. It lay on the counter, the coffee table, wherever. All of a sudden, it was glued to her hand. Always screen down. If she left a room, the phone went with her. One time, I just picked it up to move it, and she flinched. A sharp, panicked gasp. Just waiting on an urgent email from the London office, she said, her voice a little too cheerful. I'm an accountant. I work with patterns, with things that are supposed to add up. This didn't. But I pushed the feeling down. Paranoia, I told myself. I trust my wife. The crack that broke everything open happened on a Wednesday. I'd finished a huge project and, feeling spontaneous, I left work at 3 p.m. to surprise Sarah. I imagined a romantic dinner out of the blue. I stopped and bought fresh pasta, her favorite wine, and a bouquet of lilies. I felt like the best husband in the world pulling into our driveway. Her car was there, which was a nice surprise. I figured she'd had the same idea. I let myself in quietly, trying to keep it a surprise. Sarah? I called out. The house was silent. Her briefcase was by the stairs and her keys were in the bowl. She was definitely home. I walked toward the back of the house, and through the glass doors of the patio I saw her. She was at the far end of the garden, her back to me, phone pressed to her ear. And her voice, it wasn't her work voice. This was a voice I hadn't heard in years, soft, intimate, with this low, happy laugh. It was the voice of a woman in love. My blood turned to ice. I just stood there in the dining room, hidden in the shadows, and watched her. I couldn't hear the words, but I didn't need to. The way she tilted her head, the way she tucked her hair behind her ear, it said everything. She must have felt me watching because she turned. Our eyes met through the glass, and for a split second, I saw pure panic on her face before she snapped the phone shut. She slid the door open, a brittle smile plastered on her face. "Honey, you're home early." "So are you," I said flatly. The flowers in my hands suddenly felt stupid. Who was on the phone? Oh, just an old college friend. Maria. Just catching up. The lie was so smooth, so practiced. And right then I knew. I didn't know who or for how long, but I knew, with a certainty that landed like a lead weight in my gut, that I was being lied to. I looked at the woman I'd spent my entire adult life with, and I saw a complete stranger. That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind, my logical accountant's brain, was spinning. I needed data. I needed proof. I waited until her breathing was deep and even, then I went for her purse. My hands were shaking as I took out her phone. It was locked with a passcode, that was new. But we were on a shared family plan. With trembling fingers, I logged into the provider's website, and there it was. Call logs, text logs. For months. One number, over and over again. Dozens of times a day. Late at night, first thing in the morning. It wasn't Maria. A quick search told me the number belonged to a man named Mark Renshaw, a senior partner at her firm. The same man who'd given her a partnership award 2 years ago. The man whose hand I had shaken at Christmas parties. A married man with kids. The real soul-crushing part came next. We had a shared cloud account I'd set up years ago to back everything up. I never imagined I'd use it for this. I spent hours digging through old backup files, my heart pounding. Then I found them. Deleted message threads. Recovered bits and pieces of a secret life. And they didn't just go back 6 months. They went back years. Can't wait for the conference in Napa. Room 412 is our lucky number. That was from 2008. The year we celebrated our 5th anniversary. Just like our first time after the company retreat. You still take my breath away. That was from 2004. A year after we were married. I couldn't breathe. I kept scrolling. The messages, the photos, the inside jokes, they spanned our entire marriage. This wasn't a recent mistake. It wasn't a midlife crisis. This was a parallel life she had been living from the very beginning. Every anniversary, every trip, every "I love you" was a lie. A performance. The 15 years of happiness I treasured were a complete fiction. She hadn't just cheated. She had erased my life. She had stolen my past. Sitting there in the blue glow of the computer screen, my world didn't just crack. It turned to dust. The days after that are a gray blur. I felt like a ghost. I went to work, I looked at spreadsheets, I sat in meetings. I came home and looked at my wife across the dinner table and felt nothing but a hollow space where the person I loved used to be. The shock was physical, like being held under ice water. Experts sometimes talk about the trauma from infidelity, and that's what it felt like. A trauma that rewired my brain. Every memory we shared was now poisoned. Our wedding photo on the mantle was a sick joke. There was a volcano of rage inside me, so intense it scared me. I wanted to scream, to confront her, to watch her fall apart. But every time that feeling rose up, a colder, calmer voice took over. A screaming match would just be a messy drama. She could play the victim, twist my words, and make it my fault. She had controlled the story of our marriage for 15 years. I refused to let her control the story of its end. It was during one of those long, sleepless nights that something inside me shifted. The grief and the rage started to harden into something else. A cold, clear, diamond-hard resolve. She didn't just break my heart. She stole 15 years of my life. She didn't just take my love. She took my youth and my trust. I wasn't going to let her steal my future, too. I wasn't going to be the broken husband. I was going to be the architect of her downfall. Revenge wasn't just a whim, it was a project. And I was an accountant. I was good at projects. The very next day, the work began. First, I needed information and protection. I didn't just find any divorce attorney. I found the sharpest, most ruthless family law attorney in the city. I took a personal day and sat in her office, laying out the whole story calmly, like I was presenting a case file. She listened without saying a word. When I was done, she just nodded. "Good," she said. "You haven't confronted her. That gives us a huge advantage." She explained that while our state is no fault, meaning the affair itself doesn't guarantee a bigger settlement, proving she misused marital funds was a different story entirely. She gave me a list of instructions. Second, I did a deep financial dive. This was my turf. For the next month, I became a forensic accountant in my own life. I opened a new, private bank account and had my salary deposited there. I documented every single thing we owned together: the house, investments, retirement accounts. Then I dug into her spending. On my lawyer's advice, I ran a soft credit check and found it. A credit card in her name I never knew existed. I got access to the statements online, and it was a roadmap of their affair. Fancy hotels in cities where she was supposedly at conferences. Expensive dinners for two. Jewelry I'd never seen. For 15 years, she'd been funding her secret life with our money. I printed every statement, every receipt. Each page was another brick in the prison I was building for her. Third, I needed undeniable proof. The texts and statements were good, but I wanted something that would leave no room for her lies. I hired a private investigator, a quiet ex-cop who'd seen it all. A couple of weeks later, a thick envelope arrived at a P.O. box I'd opened. Inside were dozens of high-resolution photos. Sarah and Mark kissing in his car after a late night at the office. Holding hands walking into a boutique hotel. Sharing wine on a patio, looking like a happy couple. The PI had also done some digging on Mark. Turns out, he was being lined up as the public face of his firm's new corporate responsibility initiative. In fact, in 1 month, at the company's annual charity gala, Mark was set to receive the Family and Community Integrity Award. The irony was so perfect, it was almost funny. And that's when the whole plan clicked into place. The gala. The award for integrity. It was the perfect stage for the final act. The day of the gala arrived, and I felt unnervingly calm. All the pain and anger had been channeled into a single point of icy focus. I played the part of the devoted husband one last time. I helped Sarah pick out her dress, a stunning emerald green gown that I knew from her secret credit card statement she'd bought the week before. I told her she looked beautiful, and the lie felt as easy on my tongue as hers must have for 15 years. She was practically vibrating with excitement about the gala, about how important the night was for the firm and for Mark. She had no idea she was the star of a much bigger show. My plan had 3 parts, designed to go off at once. Part 1 launched at 6 p.m. While I was in the shower, a courier I'd hired delivered a package to Mark Renshaw's house. It was addressed to his wife, Melissa. Inside was a simple, typed note: "A man's integrity is best judged by his private actions. You deserve to know the truth." Beneath it were 5 glossy 8 by 10 photos of Mark and Sarah, a copy of a hotel bill with both their names on it, and a highlighted credit card statement showing 15 years of their secret life. I imagined the bomb sitting on her entryway table, just waiting. We got to the gala at 7:30. I smiled, I shook hands, I made small talk. I saw Mark across the room with his wife, an elegant woman who had no idea what was coming. Sarah went off to network, and I just watched and waited. At 8:15 p.m., Mark was called to the stage to get his award. The CEO gushed about his leadership and his unwavering commitment to family values. As Mark gave his speech, thanking his team and his wonderful, supportive wife, Melissa, I saw her smile tightly. Then her phone, sitting on the table, lit up. She glanced at it. Then she looked again, her brow furrowing. She picked it up. Watching her face as she scrolled was like watching a car crash in slow motion. The smile dissolved, replaced by confusion, then horror, then a pale, rigid fury. She looked from her phone to her husband on the stage holding his Integrity Award, her face a mask of total devastation. The first bomb had gone off. We left around 11 p.m. Sarah was on top of the world, chattering about what a great night it was. I said nothing. When we walked into our home, my home, I left the lights dim. "I'm exhausted," she said, kicking off her shoes. What a night. Sit down, Sarah, I said. My voice was quiet, but it cut right through her good mood. She sat on the edge of the sofa. I walked to the coffee table and laid down a single photo, the one of her and Mark kissing in his car. The color drained from her face. Mark? Where did you get this? Does it matter? It's not what it looks like, she stammered. It was a stupid, drunken mistake. I let her lie hang in the air. Then I put down a second photo. And a third. Then the hotel receipts. Then the credit card statements, fanned out like a losing hand. A drunken mistake? I said, my voice still perfectly level. For 15 years? I watched the reality of it all dawn on her. I knew everything. Remember Napa, Sarah? I asked softly. Room 412. You told me it was a marketing summit. A sob finally broke from her lips. I've filed for divorce, I said, as calmly as if I were discussing a budget. My lawyer has sent the papers to yours. Our assets have been documented. You'll find your access to the joint accounts is now restricted. Just then, her phone started buzzing violently on the table. The screen lit up, Mark. It buzzed again and again. A flood of frantic calls and texts. The second bomb had clearly hit its target. His life was imploding right alongside hers. She looked from the evidence on the table, to my cold face, to the buzzing phone. There were no more lies to tell. Her 15-year web of deceit had been quietly and completely dismantled. There was no screaming, just the devastating silence of the truth. The immediate fallout was just as pathetic as you'd expect. The shock turned into tears and begging. She loved me, she swore. It was a mistake, an addiction. She'd do anything to fix it. But she wasn't talking to the man she used to know. That man was gone. I told her to pack a bag and leave. The house was legally in my name, thanks to a down payment from my parents, and it was no longer her home. From now on, she could talk to my lawyer. The divorce was swift and brutal. My paperwork left her no room to argue. Her attempts to claim half of everything were shut down by the mountain of evidence showing she'd been draining our marital funds to bankroll her affair for a decade. She walked away with a fraction of the life she'd taken for granted. The professional fallout was a catastrophe for them both. Mark's wife filed for divorce the next day. The scandal ripped through their company. The board discovered Mark had also been using his company expense account for some of their trips. He was fired for fraud. Sarah, without her powerful lover to protect her, was forced to resign a few weeks later. Their great romance, the one they destroyed 2 marriages for, couldn't survive the real world. I heard they broke up within months. I guess the thrill was in the secret. For me, there was no victory party. Revenge had been like a necessary surgery to remove a cancer. The operation was a success, but the recovery would be long. The silence in the house was deafening. I started going to therapy. It helped me grieve a life that I now realized I'd never really had. Healing came slowly. It came from packing up all her things and getting them out of my house. It came from rediscovering myself. I started hiking again, finding peace in the mountains. I reconnected with old friends. I focused on my work, not as an escape, but as something that was mine, built with my own honest effort. It's been 2 years now. I'm not the same man. That naive trust is gone, replaced by a more careful view of the world. But the bitterness is gone too. The anger is just an echo. The revenge wasn't the cure, but it was the first step. It was me taking back control of my own story. I exposed the lies of my past to free my future. I live a quieter life now, but it's an honest one. It's built on a new foundation, one I laid myself, brick by painful, solid brick. And for the first time in a long time, it feels like my own. They say living well is the best revenge, but was I right to take it a step further? Let me know what you would have done in the comments below.